The problem, really, we have a mental health crisis in this country, and the mental health system here in Nashville massively failed at multiple levels. And that's the real story here.
While we were going through the saga, the Nashville Manifesto, and do comment below, what did you think was most revealing from the portion of the manifesto that Mug Club Undercover procured and released? And did you feel as though, it was missing context? Because there were a lot of people out there who tried to fill in context, which really was a way of playing defense, a way of backfilling in a way that wasn't really honest. Now, there's a man who works locally there in Nashville, Michael Patrick Leahy, who had filed a FOIA, which was denied, but now he has 80 new pages of information, not specifically the manifesto. The only portions of the manifesto that are available from that spiral notebook came from the Mug Club Undercover unit, but information that relates to the shooter's life.
Yeah.
Information that provides more context. And it's as bad as you thought, only worse. And the scary part is not just the media, but the FBI running interference to try and ensure that you don't know about this. So it's been about a year, 2 months, I believe, some change, since Audrey Hale shot up Covenant School in Nashville, Tennessee. 6 people were murdered. Let me give you just a brief kind of memory refresher here. If you don't remember the Nashville Manifesto, here's an excerpt. We have for you today, exclusively here on Louder with Crowder, courtesy of Mug Club, first look at part of the handwritten manifesto of the Nashville shooter. Dark Abyss, Death Day, March 27th, 2023. Today is the day, yes. The day has finally come. I can't believe it's here. Don't know how I was able to get this far, but here I am. I'm a little nervous, but excited too. Been excited for these past 2 weeks. There were several times I could have been caught, especially back in the summer of 2021. None of that matters now. I'm almost an hour plus 7 minutes away. Can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm ready. I hope my victims aren't. My only fear is if anything goes wrong, I'll do my best to prevent any of the sort. God, let my wrath take over my anxiety. It might be 10 minutes tops. It might be 3 to 7. It's gonna go quick. I hope I have a high death count. Ready to die. Ha ha. Signed, Aiden. So now the editor-in-chief of the Tennessee Star, Michael Patrick Leahy, will be here in a moment. 80 new pages. Something else important is, hey, could this have been prevented? When the left talks about watch lists for firearms, because maybe you took a Xanax, I think this is relevant, because this is someone who not only should have been on a watch list if you're going to create one, this is someone who, even without a watch list, the neighborhood watch would know with the information that we have, that this person was disturbed, that this person was a danger, that this person communicated it with great regularity. And certainly you would imagine that those in positions of authority, namely those in law enforcement, would be aware of this and be proactive. Instead, they've been proactive in trying to bury this information. So a memo dated May 11th, 2023. We see that the FBI discouraged the local Nashville police from releasing the manifesto. Here are some quotes. Public access to legacy tokens, and by the way, that usually means, for example, something that expresses motive, right? Something that actually provide evidence that they leave behind. Public access to legacy tokens will also facilitate false narratives and inaccurate information.
How?
This also may lead to unintended consequences for the segment of the population more vulnerable or open to conspiracy theories, which will undoubtedly abound. There is existing precedent for not releasing legacy token materials to the public, most notably the decision to destroy the basement tapes produced by the offenders of the Columbine high school attack, hereafter Columbine. So hold on a second. Do you mean conspiracy theories like the mayor and the lawyer who represented a small portion of the families coming out and saying this was not politically motivated, this was just a one-off, this was a lone wolf, this was someone who didn't clearly have an ideology, this is somebody who just snapped one day? Do you mean those kinds of conspiracy theories? Do you mean the kinds of conspiracy theories when the manifesto, a portion of it is actually released, where they say that's actually not authentic, that's made up, that's internet, that's just internet clickbait, and then, okay, well, it's real, but the truth is you shouldn't know about this manifesto because it hurts the families, and then some families come out and say, no, we actually want to know about this motivation. Do you mean those kinds of conspiracy theories? Do you mean burying misinformation like the staggering percentage of comorbidities that transgender individuals right? They find themselves in that demographic, or the unbelievable suicide rate, attempted suicide rate, which gets no better after transition. And, by the way, violent crime rate that you see from transgenders. We always hear about how transgender individuals are more likely to be the victim of violent crime, and that may be true. Big part of that is because a high portion of them tend to be involved in sex work, and those people tend to be victims of violent crimes. That's a horrible thing. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy to thrust people into that world. What you don't hear about is that transgender individuals have other forms of mental disturbance on a to a staggering statistical degree. I want to choose my words carefully and make sure that I'm accurate. To a staggering statistical degree, transgender individuals have comorbidities and other mental disturbances and commit disturbing and violent crimes at an alarmingly high rate compared to any other percentage of the population. There you go. That kind of conspiracy theory. What happened to knowledge is power? We know about the Christchurch shooting.
Yeah.
Anytime there's a basic white guy who fires a shot, we know about it, and we are told that white males are the biggest domestic terrorism threat in the country. Well, several gender ideologues, radicalized, have now committed mass murder. And we don't know about it, and the media buries it.
Absolutely. And this is the kind of thing that just infuriates me, because you're wondering, like, oh, how could we have predicted this? Well, the fact that this person thought that they were a man is a first place to start. And if we have to dump this, I really don't care at this point. This person was crazy to begin with. And there was a big, giant red flag that this person, apparently from some of the new information we'll talk about in a second, had issues mentally for decades.
Yes.
This person was only 27 years old, I believe. Decades of their life.
Yes.
They had these issues. And then the fact that they think, oh, I'm a man. I'm not a woman. This is absolute insanity, that you've basically taken away basic human reasoning and saying, who are the people that I need to look out for in the village? Who are the people that I need to make sure that I am protecting against? Okay, the guy with the gun, that's easy. Okay, the guy over there in the corner that looks really shady, fine, I'm going to keep the kids away from that person. The person walking down the street that thinks that they are a man when they are actually a woman, totally fine?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? At this point, you're taking away our ability to go, that's not normal. That doesn't mean I have to do anything. That just means that I need to be aware. And you're like, no, that's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, let me give you a statistical reality here, because we've been told to be afraid of straight white males. Okay, if you find yourself in a subway car at night, I'm just talking about a numbers game here, and you were to want to stay safe, or you're concerned for your safety. And a lot of people talk about this now because of rape culture. Okay, statistically, I don't care if we have to dump this, statistically, get away from the transgender individual, the Buffalo Bill, and ask the straight white man to help you.
Yeah.
Statistically, those are your best odds.
Yeah.
Do you understand that?
The Daniel Penny guy. Isn't that his name, Daniel Penny?
Sergeant Penny, yeah.
Penny. Ask him to help you.
Yep.
He's the kind of guy you want to be near.
These are the statistics that you need to know. And it's one thing to ignore them, and it's another thing to actively hide them and cover them up. That is what is happening here. So the editor-in-chief of the Tennessee Star, Michael Patrick Leahy, will be here in just a moment. 80 new pages. Let me tell you what is included, and he'll be able to give us some more detail. Hale, the shooter, Audrey Hale, was in therapy for 20 years. Was prescribed multiple different psychoactive medications, buspirone, Lexapro, escitalopram, and I believe also hydroxyzine. This person fantasized about the attack as far back as middle school.
Insane to me.
Had written about it, which, by the way, is relevant to our Chippewa Falls exclusive.
Multiple potential shooters.
Multiple potential shooters.
In the middle school age.
Which was also hidden.
Yeah, just remember that's like a 12, 13-year-old kid.
This attack was planned for 5 years. This person called the suicide hotline 5 times, and this person wrote a suicide note for their parents. Now, if that just existed in a vacuum, you would say, well, this is just one person. Well, again, transgender individuals attempt suicide at a rate of approximately 42%.
Wow.
And post-op transgender people are still 19 times more likely to actually commit suicide versus the control groups. Now, it's hard to say pre-transition and post-transition because they decide not to study that. The major governing bodies, whether you're talking about the CDC, whether you're talking about the DOJ, or in this case, you may be talking about some cases NIH. No, what we do know is it's a 42% attempted suicide rate for the transgender population as a whole. That doesn't necessarily differentiate between pre-op and post-op. We do have the numbers. Post-op, they're still 19 times more likely to commit suicide than the general population. Guess what? That's more than Jews in the Holocaust. That's more than black American slaves. Sorry, it's not because you can't take a dump at a Target. Which you can now.
You can totally take a dump anywhere in Target.
Yep.
You can do it right there on the Starbucks floor. Like, you can...
Or the ones that still unfortunately have subways.
Yeah. Oh, gross.
So you have also, by the way, Hale wrote a 3-page entry about, quote, my imaginary penis days before the attack. And this seems to be a running problem, is that the penis there is, it's imaginary.
It's on your head, Steven. Gosh.
The CEO of Star News Digital Media and the editor-in-chief of Star News Network, which includes the Tennessee Star, Mr. Michael Patrick Leahy. Mr. Leahy, how are you, sir?
I'm very glad to be with you. Your show is lively as ever.
I appreciate it. Well, you knew what you signed up for. I want to make sure that I have this correct and give you the floor. And I know you have a heart out because you're a busy man. You filed a FOIA request regarding the Nashville Manifesto. It was denied by the FBI, right? You sued the FBI for withholding it. And now you've obtained 80 unreleased pages of writings and context on the Covenant school shooter, Audrey Hale. Do I have that correct?
Oh, well, we've also sued at the same time. We also sued Metro Nashville government in state court.
Okay. So
2 lawsuits. And we have obtained 80 pages of the journal found in her vehicle on the day of the shootings. You also know that there was a spiral notebook there, which has an operational plan. We don't have any document from the operational plan. But as you know, in November, you got 2 pages from the operational plan, and you got 1 page from the journal.
right.
We actually have confirmed that the 1 page you got that you read, we've seen that as well.
Good. So you're able to confirm the authenticity as well.
I can confirm the authenticity of that 1 page that you reported on
Right.
in November.
Right.
Now, in addition to that, we have a number of other documents, including that document, the FBI memo,
Right.
that no one had known about that FBI memo. And it's titled Protection of Legacy Tokens, as you pointed out.
Right.
By the way, that memo was sent to the chief of police in Nashville 1 day after we filed our case in state court and 2 days after we filed our case in the FBI, in federal court against the FBI. I want to add a couple things here, Stephen.
Well, I want to add one thing. I appreciate your brass balls. I can hear them clanking because I know it's one thing to do what we do, as I'm a comedian, but also to have an undercover unit, but to also have to work and see these people, in local media. I know that is tough. I know, and I hate to say it, you will probably be a pariah with a lot of people. So genuinely, I appreciate it, but I want you to continue.
Well, I appreciate that, Stephen. But, we're doing the right thing here. We're doing First Amendment stuff. We're reporting the news. Now, a couple things that are important. On the day of the shooting, the Metro Nashville Police Department went into the house of Audrey Hale, where she lived with her parents, and discovered at that time that she was being treated by Vanderbilt University Psychiatric Hospital. Her mother confirmed with them that she'd been under various levels of treatment for 22 years. 22 years since she was 6 years old. Now, what's important about this is there's a duty to warn for mental health professionals. And we've discovered from our sources that the first psychologist was aware that Audrey had threatened to kill her father and carry out school shootings. We've also seen documentation that when she went to Vanderbilt Psychiatric, she also confirmed she wanted to kill her father and she wanted to carry out school shootings. Mm-hmm. No one followed the duty to warn. Under Tennessee law at that time, you'd have to at least warn the victim, the father. Nobody did that. If somebody had done that, Stephen, this might have been a very different outcome.
Yeah, it might have been avoided. Gerald, I know you have a question.
Yeah, you just said something that made me think. One of the things that stood out to me in that one of the pages that we covered back in November was that she said that she almost got caught in 2021. Was there any insight from that? Was that maybe the Vanderbilt thing or one of the other issues that you just brought up?
No, I don't know because her case was very interesting. There was a transfer from her first psychologist to Vanderbilt Psychiatric in late 2019 when the first psychologist said, went to the parents and said, there's suicidal ideation. Apparently, she knew at the time that there was homicidal ideation, but didn't tell the parents, from what we can tell.
Right.
The psychologist recommended that she be involuntarily committed. But when they went to Vanderbilt Psychiatric, they did something they called intensive outpatient program, 30 days. And then they put her out after that. Now, the other point to bring out, when she was 25, she was off her parents' insurance, and she lived at home with her parents, and graduated from an art college in 2022. She had some jobs, with Instacart and delivering stuff, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
She went to meet with her parents shortly after she's 25, and she said, "I want to transition." And they said, "Okay, well, it's not that easy. And by the way, you can't do it with our insurance, right?"
Right.
She then shortly thereafter got a Pell Grant from her college, and she used that money to buy the 7 guns and ammunition she used on the day that she murdered these kids and these staff members.
What was the Pell Grant for?
Her education at Nassau College of Art and Design. But you know how Pell Grant is? They just give you a check.
Right.
And, there are all these stories about people using Pell Grants to buy beer or buy marijuana or whatever.
Right.
She used it to buy guns.
Wow. That is incredible, especially when you think of red flag laws and what they're pushing on the left, when right here, this is enforcing of the actual laws.
The problem, really, we have a mental health crisis in this country, and the mental health system here in Nashville massively failed at multiple levels. And that's the real story here.
Yeah. Well, and it massively failed because people are afraid. Your people need to understand the history here. The DSM-4 to the DSM-5 changed gender dysphoria from a mental disorder to gender dysphoria. It's now actually a definition of the symptoms of someone who is transgender. And there was no study for that change. There was no basis for that change other than political expediency. So they have to be very, very careful. Once upon a time, if someone walked in and said, "Hey, I want to cut off my penis," or "I want to sew up my vagina," I'm being very frank here, and I want to transition, they would immediately have said, "Okay, we need some therapy here. This is abnormal. This is not mentally healthy." Now that actually gives them carte blanche for myriad of other very disturbing behaviors. Let me ask you this. I want to ask you one question, then move on to what's happening with you, because I know you're experiencing a court order right now regarding what you've published. There were some rumors out there from other conservative commentators saying, actually, first off, they said the Nashville Manifesto wasn't authentic until the mayor confirmed that it was authentic, saying that this was actually a woman who was a victim of child abuse. She was molested by her father. So that's the true story here. You have 80 pages. Anything to substantiate that?
We have 80 pages and a lot of other documents. And let me make clear, we've reviewed them extensively. There is zero zip nada evidence that she was ever abused sexually by anybody, her father, or when she was a student at Covenant School.
Right.
So that's a very important piece of information that hasn't been out there.
Was there any kind of abuse at Covenant School or mistreatment that we know of?
Not a bit.
No.
From the evidence I've seen, not one single bit.
Okay.
Now, she began to, when she left Covenant School after 4th grade, she went to a public school and she played middle school basketball, and she developed sort of a fascination with some of her black teammates. And so and she really was in love with a couple of them. And so it was sort of an unrequited love.
Well, that's okay these days. So let me ask you this. You reported last night that you've been ordered by the court to justify what you've published?
Well, actually, the state court judge, Leahy Miles, who's been handling that case, has ordered me to show up on Monday for a show cause hearing and to determine whether or not we violated her court order and be held in contempt of court. The problem is,
Lord.
We've looked at her court orders, her written court orders, and it says nothing about obtaining a document and writing about it. We didn't publish any documents. We've obtained it. That's First Amendment right there. This all came about because a competitor at a local television station, WSMV, called the judge up and said, "Hey, these guys are publishing documents that you said they shouldn't." That's not true.
Right.
But he said last night on Twitter that he's prompted the judge to hold this hearing. So we'll show up, and I think we'll be fine. It's a First Amendment issue, and we actually we're completely compliant with any of the orders that the judge had.
What's the name of the competitor again?
WSMV Television. The guy's name is Cameron or Stacy Cameron, and they're owned by Gray Television. You know how local news is right now, right?
Yes, I do.
They're local television. They're all owned by these big globalist companies that are all a bunch of left-wing propagandists.
Right.
And he fits in that pattern.
And the parent company is what?
Gray TV.
Okay. Yes, we are familiar. And
You're
for,
familiar.
yes, and for people who want to support you, and please do go out and support Mr. Leahy. It's it's TennesseeStar.com/donate. TennesseeStar.com/donate to help him with his legal battle. I know you have to go relatively soon. Gerald, you had another question.
I did. I had a follow up, and I don't know. I don't know if I just missed this along the way, but did you say that
Probably.
that this person left the Covenant School in 4th grade
Yes.
and
yes, I did.
never returned?
Yeah. And by the way, let's get back to this question of why Covenant. The police interviewed her parents 4 months after the event, and they asked their parents the same question. And the mother said, I have no idea why. Well, I do think that I have a working theory on it.
Mm-hmm.
She was very angry, and she wanted to kill people, right? I guess her first target was a big Opry Mills mall, but she didn't attack there because it was too secure.
Mm.
She was familiar with Covenant, and it was a softer target. And that's my theory, why she attacked Covenant.
Sure. Yeah. Also, I'm sure the fact that most of those people would likely be cis privileged Christians doesn't hurt if this is someone who's angry about the process of transition.
Generally angry about affluent white Christian people.
Yeah.
And there were a bunch of them there.
Yeah. It's one of those situations where when people say, well, you might have copycats. Hold on a second. We want to stop the breeding of these radical mass shooters.
Yeah.
We need to stop the incubator. I'm not so much worried about copycats as I am this is being created. Audrey Hale is not the only radical gender ideologue shooter. And we know, again, the statistics, whether it's self-harm or, like you said, homicidal ideations, it is much higher in the transgender community, and it's something to be aware of. And in this case, there's such a long record with what we know from you. It easily could have been, there could have been some kind of interceding, maybe not stop it, but something could have been done.
You're spot on. The key to all this is a mental health system that works, where mental health professionals understand they have a duty to warn not just intended victims, but law enforcement if one of their patients is suicidal or is homicidal in their ideation. And that's really the solution, the best option that I think we should apply going forward.
Along with defunding the 3-letter agencies, because the FBI has no business interceding, saying, yeah, you really should delete this. That blows my mind.
You won't get me to disagree with on that one.
No. I think they cease to be useful. If they are not keeping people safe and they are proactively hiding information that will keep people safe, they no longer serve a function and they need to go away. I know you have to get going, but it's michaelpatrickleahy.com, or people can follow you on X at Michael P. Leahy, as I understand it.
You got it. And also, legal fees are going to add up. TennesseeStar.com/donate. And thanks for mentioning that, Steve.
Absolutely. Please keep up the good fight and let us know if there's anything new that unfolds or that we are allowed, because we have to be very careful here. We don't want to, we don't want to step on your toes. If there's information that we can publish that doesn't get you in trouble with the courts, because we've tried to be on this like a dog on a bone, and we know that you've been there too. We appreciate it, Michael.
Thank you, Steve, and appreciate the platform.
Thank you, sir. Be well. This has been Michael Patrick Leahy, everybody. I always get nervous when someone has 3 names that I'll say one wrong.
Like Neil Patrick Harris?
Well, I just call him homo.
It's an acronym, you see.
Yeah.
That does kind of make it easier.
Yeah. Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
Tip of the lips.
Well, and look, I hope what this does is that it produces an opportunity for more people to come forward that would have been like, I didn't know the 4th grade thing. Maybe I just missed it when we were covering it. I had no idea that it had been that long. Graduated from college, hadn't been there since 4th grade. I mean, that information alone is saying, hey, this person looked at a mall cop and said that's more secure than a school,
right,
where the most vulnerable people in our community, other than 85-year-old former vice presidents, reside, right? Like,
well, yeah.
That is the place that we need to make sure, like, okay, if they're going after soft targets, then we need to make sure that this is not a soft target. And you know what it means? It means you have to have, Paul Blart, like you have to have a mall cop, and they're go, oh, that's a hard target now because somebody has a gun there.
Let's not just forget a mall cop. It's let's not forget that certain people love the mall.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah, that's.
Also, let's not forget that this was the week of the Trans Day of Vengeance.
It was.
People are forgetting that. It's almost as though this person set a day in their calendar based on a violent holiday.
It almost is. And look, if you've got
call
more,
to action.
Yeah. If you've got more information out there, like let this be the opportunity. Like let's end these things. by, like you said, stopping them before they start.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the copycat thing so much as I'm worried that our society will just keep producing these people and we'll keep turning a blind eye because they happen to be a part of the LGBTQ mafia and we can't do anything about it. So send your tips to lwctips@protonmail.com. Look, speak up. It's an opportunity to fix the problem. Now I'm going to
Now you're screwing up.
Michael
Did it to yourself,
I almost
Gerald.
said Neil Patrick Harris again. Michael Patrick Leahy is fighting. You join that fight as well.
Yeah, and we have the discount code again for Mug Club. Use a promo code Undercover. You get $10 off. It is. Think about this for a second. It's not just what they didn't do. It's not just what they hid, meaning the authorities. If you were to have this information, and they did, whether it's, I don't know to what degree the FBI, the federal authorities had it, or local law enforcement, but I know that they had this. Not only did they do nothing, not only did nothing take place over the course of 20 years, but you would like to think that those in charge, for example, of getting to the bottom of something, would then go, oh, wait a second, this person went to this school. Wait a second, this person expressed hatred and violent homicidal ideation going back as far as middle school. Let me ask some of their classmates. Let me ask some of their teachers, right? You see these in the films, detectives, Kojak, they're showing up going like, where were you at this time? You'd think they're doing none of that, which is what you expect your law enforcement to do. None of that, and they're actively hiding the information, deleting, if they follow the FBI, the information that they have. They're not looking out for you. They're not looking out for you. So much could have been done. This is not one of those situations where there was a shooter and they go, straight A student, no problem, no one saw it coming. Everyone directly involved, from the psychologist or psychiatrists, the parents, I guarantee you as well, if you were to ask them, classmates, teachers, members of the community, knew. Everybody saw it coming. That's the reason for the cover-up. And it happens all the time. They always turn a blind eye to this. Remember? Stop Asian hate. Then the stats come out. Oh, wait, it's largely black Americans coming. Oh, it goes away. Stop anti-Semitic hate. Turns out it's largely pro-Hamas, pro-Hezbollah, leftists. We'll do away with it. Hey, mass shootings. Right now we're seeing that this actually wasn't a cis white Christian male. It was a transgender individual, and you have half a dozen or less. Let's move on to the next one. Hopefully there's a white guy. There's no interest in keeping you safe. None. Hey, hold on a second. Let's stop crime here. Let's stop guns. All right. Well, let's close the southern border if you're dealing with the illegal. I don't want to do that. Can someone genuinely comment below? Where along the logic trail or the decision tree, whichever one you want to use, where is the left attempting to keep you safe ever? Ever. I'm not talking nanny state laws like seat belts or whatever it is. Actively taking measurable steps that could keep you safe. Let's protect our border. Let's make sure that illegal guns are dealt with. Let's make sure that law enforcement is held accountable. Let's make sure there's some accountability for our three-letter agencies. Let's look at the statistical realities and those people who are most likely to commit violent crimes and start with that rather than not only wasting time and resources telling everyone that they should be afraid of every cis, white, straight male, but actively pointing people towards the threats that exist. They're actively not only not taking these steps, they're lying to you about reality. Think about that. We saw it in Chippewa Falls. You see it with Nashville. You saw it with the Stop Asian Hate. You saw it with the Stop Anti-Semitic Hate Crimes. You see it with the southern border. Give me any example of a systemic attempt for people on the left to try and keep you, the American citizen, the law-abiding American citizen, safe. Genuinely, we'll check out the comments, and if there's a good explanation, I'll read it tomorrow.
And you know what I'm going to hear? If his accusation against Stacey Cameron is true from WSMU, what the hell are you doing, Stacey? You're pissed off that somebody scooped you? I mean, that happened when we published the manifesto. There were some people that were like, I have additional information. You didn't have any additional information. You were just pissed off that the story came out. You should be happy that the story got out. You should be we're same team, right? Should be happy that the story got out, WSMU, because it's news that needs to be out there for people to be able to prepare better for this and for us to handle this problem. And instead, Stacey Cameron, if this is true, standing in the way going, Your Honor, but Your Honor. You're just like somebody pointing at Jews in the attic. You're doing the job for them.
He's not on the same team, though.
I don't know if it's a he or a she. Stacey sometimes goes both ways. I
does. I don't know.
understand. But here's the thing.
He said he. I
We're
laughed.
not dropping that. We're going to be contacting Stacey and trying to find out exactly why Stacey did anything, did nothing. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe you should come on and have to defend why you're standing in the way and saying, haul this man into court for going out there and defying your order, Your Honor. Why don't you leave the Gestapo work to the Gestapo? How about that?
And you know what? A lot of these people say, I was just doing my job. It's the higher-ups. That is one thing. I'm so grateful for you and Mug Club. Hey, no one owns this, aside from this guy. And we don't have to play any of those games as far as someone broke a story, but we can't have them on because they're with a competitor, or they're persona non grata because they didn't show up to speak at CPAC, or they haven't actually played ball with these Republican donors. We don't give a shit. We want the truth to get out. That's why we have Mr. Leahy on. We met him through the process of the Nashville Manifesto. And he said, hey, thanks. We appreciate. We were trying to get this. They denied our FOIA request. We appreciate you doing this work. And we found out that he had done some great work. We said, let us know how we can support you. While all of this was taking place, you had a pseudo dick measuring contest from people on the right saying, well, actually, we can't confirm the. Well, of course you can't confirm the authenticity. You don't do any actual investigative journalism. We have a unit here. It's not funded by a nonprofit, by the way. You want to know how people on the right aren't objective? If you're funded by nonprofits, 501c3, 501c4, that person cannot be objective. It is not humanly possible. It can't happen because you have to have donors, and donors have opinions. They operate independently. I don't even know what they're doing half the time for legal liability purposes. You tell me we're working on something. I say, can I know? You say no. I say, okay. And there is 0% ownership in this company here from anybody outside of what you see in this room. That's because of you. And if you want that to continue, like we said, $10 off, use the promo code undercover, louderwithcrowder.com/mugclub. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress, especially undertaking going into the election. But every now and then it hits me and I say, wow, really grateful. Because I tell you what, I had to play ball for a while. I've been at some of the big agencies, and I said never again. And the undercover unit, a lot of these people come from the same background. They said never again. That's why we're able to do what we do.
Watch Louder with Crowder live Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.